Hello there, welcome to another episode of Fort Triumph for the Gainy Titan, and we're continuing on from last week's episode, where you had the sort of opening game of my skirmish level. This episode mostly covers me sort of middle game. By the end of the game, I've made contact with the initial enemy parties scouting into my territory, so I don't have any kind of set pattern. I tend to kind of be somewhat opportunistic when it comes to initial upgrades. And in fact, here is the first enemy unit, and in fact, I think one of the things that I haven't been doing lately is that I actually have been a bit under-garrisoning my town. So I bought the infirmary upgrade because it gives me extra health, so it improves the resilience of my units, and it's a fairly straightforward one to get. You sometimes get health upgrades from items, from stuff that's lying around, bags and broken down wagons and dead bodies and stuff like that, or the giant beetroot thing can give you the opportunity of a health upgrade. You can eat it for a health upgrade, or you can spend it for money. For the Bitcoin. So we have an opening skirmish here. You basically you're trying to pick off resources that are useful to improve your economy, but you also want to pick fights that you can win relatively straightforwardly. You don't want to take really high risks, I think, with these fights if you can avoid it, because what you're trying to do is build up experience in your units, preferably with the least amount of risk that you can manage. And every fight will build up experience, even if it's very one-sided. You'll still get experience out of the fight. So by all means, take up one-sided fights if you can possibly manage them. The more one-sided they are, probably the better, the less risk you're taking. But all your your benefits go up. Now, I hit him here with the anticipation that I'd get him on when he left for the attack of opportunity. And now that I'm looking at it, I've actually said, yeah, he's not even blinded. I thought he was blinded initially. He wasn't actually blinded. Right. I knew that shouldn't have happened. That goblin should not have been able to move out from the paladin. Something odd has just happened there. But anyway, that's something to pass on to the developers. And yeah, definitely it shouldn't have happened. I should have been able to get him on the attack of opportunity. Right, but anyway, it's 3 goblin scouts. It's not going to be a massively difficult fight. This guy has moved fairly close, and it's just a miss from point blank range. And this guy doesn't move up far enough at all. There are far too many obstacles to shoot through from there. So the wizard has a very easy time. He just topples over the static might on top of the goblin, and that's the end of the goblin. And the paladin, when he can move, doesn't really matter. It's a good position because it's well fortified. Paladin might as well pick up the health potion and move forward and put the remaining goblin in the zone of control, where we will sort of hit him again, and hopefully when he moves out of the zone of control this time he triggers. And he moves out of the control to attack of opportunity and triggers the attack. So yeah, that's one definitely to report. I thought he was actually, when I had spotted it in the previews when I was sort of editing the footage before I started doing the final commentary together, but I actually thought he had been smoke bombed because obviously I did all my editing first, and then I did I passed on the information to the developers, so I must update that. Okay, I'm just going to make a note here. I know that the Fort Triumph people watch my videos because they've left comments and said so, and but I don't know if they watch all of my videos, because they also are trying to develop a game, and they've only got so much time. There's only so many days in the week, and developing a game, particularly when you're getting towards the end, there's a tendency for developers in particular are notorious for going into crunch mode, and while sustained crunch mode is actually really bad for your productivity and your programming, and it makes your code more buggy. Lots of studies shown to prove it, but the industry has been very slow to cop on to that, shall we say. I know from my own experience as well, I've been a programmer, and not on games, but I've been a programmer, and I've gone into crunch mode, and it can work for a short time. It does. You get maybe 6 weeks, probably maximum. After about 6 weeks, you're just getting tired, and at that stage, your actual productivity is going to drop fairly dramatically, because code's a very mentally intensive activity, and it really requires a lot of focus and concentration. And when you're tired, you can't give it the focus and concentration that it deserves. So some of the practices that you hear about, particularly in the games industry, are absolutely crazy. Burning out coders really to no good purpose, and all they're getting out of it is buggy, unplayable code, maybe at the end of the day. I mean, some of the high bug rates you see in some modern games isn't just because of the complexity of modern games or the fact that they're rushing it out of the door unfinished. It's also the fact that they're rushing it out the door unfinished with a vastly overstressed development team, because they're just completely unrealistic timetables. Anyway, enough of my programming rant. Brutes can be quite dangerous. I've got fortunate here that I managed to be able to stun a lot of them in the first round, and the spider is extremely useful because he's going to occupy their attention as well. So I kept feeling there that I could have done this fight a bit better, got a bit more bang for my buck, made use of the lift a little bit more. Now, I got this wrong. I keep getting it wrong. Moving into the zone of control doesn't trigger an attack of opportunity. You have to actually move from one zone of control area to another zone of control area, or out of the zone of control area, to trigger the attack of opportunity. I keep getting it wrong. I keep kind of forgetting about that side of things. However, we have 2 stunned, 2 not stunned, but one of the not stunned is beside a spider, and the spider gets to act first, so he takes him out, and then the spider goes over into the face of the other guy, which is going to occupy his attention, because he's going to pay attention to the spider, not the paladin. And then he's nicely lined himself up for the savage to kick the lot of them, which the savage duly does. Bang, 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 bang. And we have one guy alive. Savage gets their upgrade, and we go, of course, for Bloodlust. Bloodlust is the business, because you get the free action point if you kill somebody in a round. So Bloodlust is like an extra, well, it's an extra action point, and that combined with Slash and Dash means effectively an extra attack every 3 rounds or so. Now we have, when we kill him off, you see, if we kill him off, the spider doesn't matter. So the priority is to take down the last of the brutes, simply because that's the original fight. That's what you started off fighting, and once you have them all beaten, doesn't matter what other critters have appeared in the meanwhile. They're not going to affect the fight. We just take up the magic pool. And here we get a choice of 7 magic or health, 2 health. Now, normally 7 magic is kind of irresistible, but I've already got 12 magic. So we go with the health, and we get some more Bitcoin. And this is a relatively easy fight, but it gets us a building. And the buildings are worth it, because the units you get from the buildings are generally cheaper than the units you get from the town. So if you get a peasant in the building, you get a peasant for 0. Whereas if you buy a peasant in the town, it'll cost you 70, I think. Similarly, like if you've, say, found a goblin village or whatever building, so the goblin building would give you whatever the weakest goblins are. I can't remember what they're called. you'd probably pick them up for 0, or similarly with the skeleton building, whatever. Again, you get skeleton weaklings for 0. And you might think they're not worth a lot, but the thing is, if you have enough of them in your town when the enemies come, they count. Because the important thing about the invasion of the town, it doesn't matter so much if you lose the town, as long as you still have your primary party, or at least a party within striking distance, or fairly quick striking distance, as long as you can kill some of the units coming in. The worst scenario you want is to find yourself losing the town and killing nothing of the invading force, because then what happens is the enemy will put a very strong garrison in the town and they'll send a weak party out. You might be able to kill the weak party out, but then you have god awful job of digging the other force out of your town, and until you dig the other force out of your town, your economy is effectively crashed. I've had the bitter experience, and it is bitter. So yeah, I really should have done that. I think I should have moved the paladin down first before I did the lift. Not very efficient there. However, we only get one stun, and we're not near enough to anybody to get anything out of us, so we just have a move. Should probably not bother with the slash and dash, actually. Slash and dash was a waste of a slash and dash there. It was rather bad. That was a poor tactical round now on my part. Definitely a losing round. If it had been gymnastics game or something like that, now I would definitely have fallen very far behind. So spiders get to move. Spitting spiders they're not so bad in confined space, actually. They're far more dangerous out in the open because they scatter at long range. They're actually not bad at hitting at long range. I mean, they're not great at hitting, but the range doesn't seem to make much difference to them. But when they're in confined spaces and you can catch up with them, you can stay in touch with them, they're actually not that dangerous because they're relatively easy to kill. Now, we do some lifting here just to make things easy for ourselves. Again, lifting into the zone of control isn't going to make any difference, but we're kind of too far away to do much, and I think lifting is probably as good as we're going to get. I could have supposed to done it a different way and made only one lift, and then the paladin could kick, but probably from a different direction. One lift and an attack might have been better. Yeah, no, I'm definitely not playing well in this particular game. On the other hand, having the ranger out there is useful because it draws fire from the other two and means that it's spreading around the damage a bit, so they're not focus firing on one particular character. So I'm going to get the paladin up to the guy I think on the upper level. Puts him in zone of control and we can just thump him. If he tries to leave Zoc, he can get hit. This guy's a one-shot kill if we do it with a quick shot, which is good because then we can now shoot the other guy, and the other guy's a one-shot kill I think as well. So what to pick? I often pick it, but I don't know how effective it is. It's, I don't know if it's made much of a difference so far. So we have a claw attack here. It doesn't quite finish this guy off. And we have a move remaining. We won't bother moving, I don't think, because I don't see any advantage to it, to be honest with you. So now we have two spiders in zone of control. Okay, one of them, because he was hit, the zone of control gets overridden. So this guy's still here, so he is just going to get thumped and he dies. And the paladin is now free to do something else. He's going to give an action point to the archer, which effectively gives the archer 2 attacks. So everybody's within range, and everybody's got a reasonably good or excellent chance of hitting everything. So that's 1 spider down, 1 spider remaining. Regular shot again, and bang. That's it. Game over, or at least skirmish battle over. It's a D class because we weren't exactly super duper efficient or anything like that. And we don't have the movement left to occupy the building. This second party can't quite reach. Now, I could get stuff. I can buy a citadel, which could be worth buying because it'll up the health of the defenders, and it ups the health of the defenders and allows the buying of wizards. So we have another enemy party arriving, and not a terribly strong party. So occupy the place with the brutes, and that'll give us some cheap brutes later on. We've coins and magic. We might as well go to the tree and get the offense of the battle. It's about as limit of our movement, I think. We can't get any further. And then we go to party 2. 4 wizards, 5 priests, 7 brutes. And what are we doing for the peasants? We've gone for the peasants. So lots and lots and lots of peasants. Well, not a huge number. Not enough, I think, to... Well, it is a threat in the sense that if one party member went out there and left all, 6 of them, attacked them, they could very well die. The wizard would certainly die. The paladin might have a tough time surviving. The only thing is the paladin does have the shield, so not every attack might go through. So we're going to take the telekinetic lift because it is very useful, especially when we've only got a 2-person party. And here we're going for some stunning action. Now we're going to go to the bolster because it's a brace that allows us movement and useful places to put the wizard. And there, I suppose, is as good a spot as any. Now the spider moves, so the guy will attack the nearest enemy. So he attacks the spider, takes it out of action, but it robs the enemy of 1 attack action, and the remaining guys I think are going to focus on the paladin, but he's bolstered, you see, so the attacks are all at reduced damage. And we have 3 of them clustered around, or clustered fairly close, so we'll make them closer. Now it's not the ideal arrangement because we don't have that hit. We don't have them lined up so that we can hit all 3 with 1 attack. And we're going to have to move, so it's going to use an action point. So that's going to take us of all the action points, and there's 1 guy next, and he's close enough to get up and get his hit in. This guy is going to throw stuff and miss. This guy's going to come up as well, and now they're all... Well, this guy's not going to go to melee either. He's going to go a square short. Now I can probably knock some benefit out of lifts, but I have to get the wizard into risk territory in order to be able to do it. But it could probably be worth it. Although it might be worth to sort of interleave the attacks, so the paladin will go first and kick this guy out of the way. He's got an action left, so I'm going to use it to freeze this guy in place. And then we move the wizard forward. And now we just need to cross the paladin's attack opportunity space. There we have it, and this guy's dead. So the wizard now has a point left, and he can now go back into his hidey hole, I think. Level up. Back in and level up. There's only 3 peasants left, so we've half of them killed. Stunned. Guys throwing stuff at the paladin. 2 of them are lined up in a nice neat row. So we move the paladin first. 6 of one, I suppose, again, have it on the other, but we have the bolster back, so we must make use of it. And actually that worked out really neatly, because we have 2 of them in a row, and we still have a wizard with a move, and he's got a whirlwind, and he can do it from pretty much point blank range. So he's almost guaranteed to hit. So there's 1 surviving peasant left. And yeah, peasant is the only one. He's only got 1 action. So we push the paladin up, and we just hit him, and it's game over. So it is an A-class victory. And we have a chest, and we have a choice. Beat coins of experience. I think I'm doing alright in experience, so we go with the beat coins. Because I'm a bit behind on upgrades. And there's another goblin party arriving on the scene. These guys are out of movement. So I'm just checking the terrain. The goblin strolls past, and now kindergarten. Yes, definitely. Kindergarten is almost like having an extra character, because you get an extra attack. Essentially, it's basically once per turn. What's kindergarten? Elementary school, I think is the one. The actual upgrade. No, kindergarten is the upgrade. Elementary school is the next one. So kindergarten basically gives you an attack once per turn when the enemy attacks your melee units. And most battles the enemy will attack your melee units at least once, maybe twice. So it's almost like having an extra character. Or an extra 2 characters if you have 2 melee units. 7 is tough. 3 goblin bombers. Goblin bombers can be very, very dangerous. Problem with goblin bombers is if the guys decide to explode and stun your 2 heroes at the cost of 1 goblin bomber, then the next one will almost certainly kill them. So it makes goblin bombers quite tricky to handle. There's no such thing as a safe number of goblin bombers. You can always lose a hero, or even a party, even to relatively small numbers of goblin bombers. And they automatically disperse as well. So their tendency is to disperse. Specifically if they get stunned, they will disperse quite widely. So cavern maps actually probably favour the party a little bit, because the goblin bomber doesn't have as big a space to work with as they do in the forest maps, forest grassland maps. And some of the stuff like lifting and attacks of opportunity are actually quite tricky, because you don't want the bugger to die when you're doing that attack, because if he dies and you're doing an attack of opportunity, if you're triggering an attack of opportunity and the goblin bomber dies during the attack as a result of the attack of opportunity, he explodes. And when he explodes, there's a danger your 2 player characters involved in the lifting transaction get stunned, in which case you're in serious trouble. So here we have 1 goblin bomber blows himself up and stuns the paladin. The other one doesn't get quite close enough that he wants to be in order to stun the mage. And we go with the safe magic missile type spell and game over. Yeah, there was a spider generated, but he wasn't part of the original goblin bomber garrison and doesn't count as a surviving enemy. And here again we take over the beet farm. Beet farms are very useful and well worth taking and hanging on to. They also serve to slow down the assault in your town, because the enemy will probably go and collect up on beet farms and beet coins rather than attack the town directly if they're available, because generally you can't garrison them once they've first been established. This is a slightly more ambitious attack because we're attacking a party of wizards, and they're generally, that bit tougher. They've just got more hit points. Although attack-wise they're not that powerful, I don't think. So we now have, well, we've 2 stunned out of, what, 5? And we need to whittle one of them down as well, fast as we can. Can we pull him out far enough to get him into the next round of fighting? Not necessarily. However, we still have a savage in play. There's a couple of ways we can do this. Cross the paladin's front. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have messed up here somewhat. My deployment was less than optimal. I think my best bet is just trigger the slash and dash and just attack the guy in front of me. That kills him, so I know he was stunned. I still have a movement left, so I get the other final, the nearest wizard under zone of control at least. The remaining wizards are going to scatter, and they do that ice attack a lot. It doesn't seem to do much in the line of damage, but it slows you down to nothing. He's done it as well. And everybody's iced. Everybody's iced, and the savages are level up. So this guy's not so far away that the paladin cannot reach him and finishes him off. Healing, except nobody needed it, and the paladin is a level up. We can now, what? We have no free slots, so we can't pick a new skill. We have to upgrade an existing one. Ranger. Push him forward, put him into Overwatch. I don't know. There's not a lot we can do. We can go in Overwatch where we are, or we can move forward. So we put the Ranger into Overwatch, and Savage has a level up. Better off getting one of these wizards into a zone of control if we can possibly manage it. And that's as close as we're going to get to him, I think. So the ice really slows you down, and the only other thing we can do is push him out there. Triggers the Overwatch, doesn't quite kill him. But he's now one of the possible near target for the spider, and we might as well do the level up on the savage. Spider goes for the wizard and kills him. That was actually well worth it. I keep forgetting that the actual critters that you release move before the enemy party, so that's sort of the hostile to all sides critters, as distinct from the enemy critters. Yeah, the paladin's going to take all his movement and then some to get down there, and he's got an action point left, but not a lot to do with it. So he gives it to the ranger, who now has 4. However, doesn't have a lot of options, so he goes into Overwatch, and she's wondering if she can see anything to pick up anywhere along the line. And that's as close as she gets. The spider triggers the Overwatch. Because he moves first, it's bound to happen, but the wizard tries to get out of the zone of control of the paladin, gets a thump freeze troubles. He's now on the other side of a pillar, with a paladin is well capable of kicking it down, and that's it, that's the fight over. So we have that fight complete, and we now get the treasure, which is unreachable but really nice. That thing's really nice for paladins because it gives them a blinding, I think, on a strike. Now I'm out of money. So this is where things get hairy. I don't quite, or at least I felt that I was going to lose this fight. I just didn't think that the 3 peasants and a cleric would hold off this kind of an attack. Which is probably... But anyway. The thing is to focus fire here, or at least try and inflict as much damage as possible early on, and limit the number of people they can kill. If you can get rid of an enemy early, it reduces the rate at which they can kill your guys. Now there's only 3 of them, so it's not so bad. Taking out one actually makes a huge difference to the party, and at the moment we're operating at a distance, so we can't actually get into close. There's no point in moving people up unless they can do something when they get there. Put this guy into Overwatch. I think he'll do more damage there than any other way. Although 82%, because he blinds when he hits, and blinding is good. And we go around to the next round. So the melee goblin comes up, and see, this is where the the kindergarten stuff was good, because I got the attack back. It's a small attack, but it's still an attack back, and it adds up over time. Now the goblins have obviously the upgrade that gives them bleeding damage for every blow they strike, pretty much. So one more hit from a melee from a peasant would be enough to take out that goblin, and there he goes. So that's useful. We have a goblin down. That means now they can really only kill. Well, there's one guy going to die from bleeding, possibly 2, but then they can only kill 2 more maximum. So we're going to 80%. It's not worth it. Might as well go into Overwatch. This guy's not going to bleed out straight away, so put him in there because the Goblin Shaman's powers are all ranged. So we've managed to hit the Goblin Archer, and he's only gotten one of them with smoke, is it? Yeah. One guy has bled out as predicted, but we have what? 2 at full strength, so we hit the Shaman again. So the thing here I think is to go after the Shaman and just pick one, stay after one. And the Shaman's the one to go after probably, because we've already got him pinned in a corner. We have him down to half his original hit points. Now this is what I mean, these corners are like, I've no line of sight. From right there beside him, I've no line of sight, I can't see him. Fortunately, I can't even pick him up, I don't think. However, I'm moving around this side. Well, I have an action point left. I can't attack, but I can move him out to make it easier for the cleric to attack him. Because I want to whittle down this guy's hit points as fast as I can, and he's still blind. So we put the cleric into a better hiding position. And the last guy will use his remaining lift to put the Goblin Shaman back into his corner. Because he can't get out of that corner. That's the other upside of the corner, that he's pinned into the corner while that guy's alive. Now he goes Overwatch again. So he's only got 1 hit point left. The other guy's got 3. The Goblin Shaman is 3. But he moves him out again. Second peasant thumps him for 2. He's only got 1 hit point remaining. And clergy dude has not moved, so the clergy guy can come down here and just shoot him, and that's it. There's obviously a goblin up here, but the thing is we can deal with him relatively easy. He's probably one of the weaker units in the goblin army. So now it is just take out the final goblin. So first thing is get into zone of control of the goblin that stops him from using his archery powers. So we use one of the peasants to do that, and then we bring the cleric up and he can use his magic. That takes the goblin out, and we're now going to see victory, and that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you again in part 3. If you liked it, give it a like. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.